Hello everyone and welcome to my channel. My name is Crown and today we are going to have some more stories that I hope that you will enjoy. But before we start, it would be so much appreciated if you would subscribe to the channel, like the video if you enjoyed it, and maybe leave a comment down below. These simple clicks would mean a lot to the future of this channel and really reward the effort that I put in every day. And now, without further ado, let's go! First, some backstory. Michael's family has been plagued by an annoying and entitled Karen, who is actually my father's grandmother. I never really liked my father's side of our extended family, except for his mother, who was an angel, and his grandfather, but that's not relevant to the story. However, this woman, who we will call Karen, has crossed many lines over the last few years. Now, I wasn't the only one who didn't like her. Most of our family kind of hated her, mainly for the things she's done in the past 1 or 2 years. I'll get to that a bit later. Looking back at her behavior, I'd say she must have gone completely crazy at some point. Although I guess I can't really blame her because she apparently lost an apartment and a lot of money after she broke up with a man she fell in love with, who somehow convinced her to give him a lot of her stuff and real estate. Now the story I'm about to tell you happened in our big 2-story family house, in which I lived together with my 2 brothers, my mom, my dad, my grandfather, and my great-grandmother, Karen's sister, and also in our fairly large garden with a gazebo. This will be important later. Karen used to live in our country's capital city, and our house is located in a quaint town in the north of our country, about 120 kilometers from the capital city. Ever since she broke up with her boyfriend and lost basically everything, although it's kind of her fault, she's been acting strange and, as I said, I think she must have gone crazy. As far as I know, she became homeless soon after and started traveling between the capital city, our town and other nearby towns, begging, I suppose. I actually saw her begging in the city where I attended high school, so yes, I know for sure she's been begging even before our little story happened. Now, even before the main incident, there have been many minor incidents involving Karen. She used to stay at our house from time to time, even before she became homeless. And one day, my grandfather noticed there was a jacket missing. I don't know if it was expensive or not, but either way, the jacket disappeared just as Karen was leaving our house one day. I'm quite sure she eventually admitted she stole it. So there is that. Other incidents involved asking her sister, who's in her 80s now, for money or stealing some other stuff from our house. Anyway, onto the story now. As I said, there is a gazebo in our garden, and one rainy afternoon, Karen decided to break into our garden and take a nap in it. To be fair, a bit of the fence was missing because we were making some adjustments to the garden, so it wasn't hard to get in. But that still doesn't mean you can just walk into our garden and spend the night there, right? Anyway, my brother and I were in our room, which overlooks the garden. Suddenly, my brother gestures to me to come and have a look. And there she was, Karen, in all her glory, getting comfy in our garden. I hardly ever take the initiative, as I'm quite introverted, but this time someone was invading my home turf. I guess my primal instincts somehow kicked in. Anyway, I put on my jacket and went outside. When I got to the gazebo, my grandfather was already there, shouting at Karen. There is not much dialogue and it might not be very accurate, but the main idea and the outcome are still the same. Grandfather tells her, "If you don't get the hell out of here, I will call the police." Now I remember Karen's voice has this screeching high-pitched noise ever since I was little. I haven't really seen this woman too many times, but I know she used to visit us when I was little. She was a normal human being at that point.
Go on, call them. This house is mine just as much as it's yours.
I should clarify that this house apparently used to belong to Karen at some point, but we bought it a long time ago. She didn't even own a single brick in this house when this happened. That's nonsense. We bought it years ago. My grandfather then went and called the police while I was trying to calmly tell her to leave. "Karen, just leave. You can't stay here." Karen kept sitting in a gazebo, still getting comfy and shouting, calling us names. You get the point. A few minutes later, 2 policemen arrived at our house. "There she is," my grandfather pointing at Karen.
She's trespassing. This is private property.
Karen to my grandfather,
Is this how you repay me after everything I've done for you?
she didn't really do anything for my grandfather or for our family in general, as far as I know. The two police officers were just standing there. I don't want to call them useless, so I hope they were at least listening to the story and watching the situation, although they did look quite uninterested in the whole ordeal.
Ungrateful people, all of you. Is this how you treat an old helpless woman?
Karen kept calling us names and it looked like she had no intentions of moving off our property. One of the police officers tells her, "Ma'am, you have to leave. This is a private property, and if the others don't want you here, you can't just stay here."
But this is my house. I have the right to stay here.
She kept shouting stuff like this ever since the police officers arrived. "Ma'am, you have to leave. Come with us." With the help of grandfather, she was dragged out from our property and she had to be escorted out by the police because of how much she kept resisting. While she was being dragged, she kept screaming and slandering us in front of our neighbors and nearby passers-by. Edit. To some people, our behavior may seem heartless, but it really isn't, since there is only so much we could put up with despite her being basically a stranger to us. We offered her more than enough help, but she basically just spat in our faces and refused professional help. Me and my brothers never really considered her as family member, and I'm sure the older generations, our parents for example, didn't either. I work in a laundromat as a laundromat attendant. The incident goes on like this. There was this one regular customer that is an elderly lady that is very sure of herself. Anyhow, she had said that one of the dryers that she was using was eating up her money and that she has come here several times and never makes mistakes at all. So I go outside to the dryer to see if there are any stuck coins or anything. Nothing stuck or wrong with the dryer. I go back into the office to check the computer about the transaction that she had with the dryer. I checked how much money she had put in the actual dryer, and to my knowledge it matches her time that she received. So anyhow, I tried to go back outside to apologize for something that I did not and have no control over, and I was going to give her some free drying time to compensate. But before I could get a word out, she looked at me and said in a loud voice,
I come here often and I have used these machines often. I don't make mistakes. Do you have any idea how to help me?
She pauses for 1 second and again, before I could say I can give you some free drying time, but it's still not our fault for customers lacking knowledge of how much money they put in the dryers. She cuts me off by yelling louder than before.
I did not think so. People like you don't know anything.
She then grabs her laundry and leaves the place with an attitude. Other regular customers that know me, a middle-aged Chinese girl, are asking me what her problem is and if I was alright. I told them I was alright and that maybe she was just having a very bad day. Who knows? Who knows why she did what she did? For me, even if I have a bad day, I wouldn't ever think about taking it out on other non-deserving people. Have a great day, everyone, and please stay healthy and safe. A similar story I saw recently reminded me of this. It happened in 2015, so pre-pandemic. The day before Easter, my wife and I helped our kids make colored eggs. Some we dyed, some we painted, and others were just plastic with candy. But my kids doodled little faces on them for fun. On Easter morning, my wife and I went to my parents' house because they live on the edge of the city, right next to some woods. And they have got a good 2-acre property with a few scattered apple trees, a garden, a play structure for the kids my dad hand-built, and some decent-sized bushes, perfect for hiding eggs in it. We spent a good hour in the morning placing the eggs in clever, but also easy to find places for the kids. We also invited a friend of my wife, who was a single mom with a little girl, to join in. And she was overjoyed we invited her. We took a little break to have a coffee and chat after hiding the eggs, as we planned to go out looking for them at noon since it was a little chilly that morning, but my mom suddenly came to us and said that there was a lady with kids she'd never seen before hunting for the eggs in the backyard, and her kids were using the baskets we'd set aside for our own egg hunt. They'd been left sitting by the garden for when the hunt was to start, and those thieving little brats just took them without a care. I told my mom to pull out her phone and start recording just in case. My wife and I have both dealt with entitled people long before seeing stories on Reddit, so having video evidence can really help. We then went outside and I demanded to know just what the hell this woman was thinking. The Karen mom was startled when I called out to her, but then got mad at us when I told her to put the eggs back, as she was not invited. Since this was 7 years ago, I'll have to paraphrase most of it as my memory can be pretty garbage at times. Hey, what do you think you're doing? This is private property.
God, don't sneak up on me. What's wrong with you?
What's wrong with me? You're trespassing on private property and letting your kids steal our eggs. By this point, her two kids had run to hide behind her, and they were blowing raspberries at me. Give those eggs back. They aren't yours.
What's wrong with you? They are just little kids. I couldn't afford to give them a good Easter this year. And when we saw all of the eggs you were hiding, I just thought maybe you could share. Besides, they are just eggs. Go to the store and get more.
My family lovingly colored and painted those eggs all day yesterday, and you will give them back. Or so help me. And then Karen actually slapped me across the face and stomped on my foot at the same time. I got bullied a fair bit as a kid, so it didn't faze me nearly as much as she thought. Plus, she couldn't stomp or hit very hard at all, so all that just made me angrier. And I'm pretty sure she realized she badly effed up because she started backing away. Last chance, return the eggs now.
No, my babies got them first.
I was done with this nonsense and turned to tell my family to just call the police. The Karen started shouting at me that we can't call the police over some stupid eggs. My dad then went and plugged the side gate, which is how the Karen had gotten in. We don't know how she was spying on us since she wasn't even a neighbor to my neighbors. But when we refused to let her leave, she started screaming hysterically that we were illegally detaining her. The police arrived in about 10 minutes, and by then the Karen had huddled with her kids on the bench by the garden. My wife showed the cops a video of the Karen slapping me, and they quickly told her she was under arrest and forced her kids to give back the eggs and baskets. The Karen started screaming that it wasn't fair, as she just wanted a happy Easter for her kids. Her little spoiled kids didn't make things easy for the police either, as they tried to hit them for arresting their mom. We made a few statements, and the police carted off the Karen and her family. Then we re-hid all of the eggs, which took longer because we had to double-check any places we'd already hidden eggs to see if they weren't there. The kids were all super upset that someone tried to steal their eggs too. It took some work to calm them down, but they all still got their Easter egg hunt, and all was well. The Karen ended up pleading guilty and got a month in jail and a fine. And during court, I found out from her soon-to-be ex-husband that they were in the middle of a divorce, and the Karen had been intentionally dragging out. After court, we didn't see or hear from any of them again, but I'd like to think that the situation gave the dad the edge he needed in a divorce. And now we have reached the end of today's stories. Thank you for watching and see you next time.